Hello everyone, welcome to Hill Street. Today's story is, She is Standing in My Backyard. If you end up enjoying this story, please leave a like. And if you enjoy hearing stories from me, please subscribe and become a resident of Hill Street and let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Now, let's get to this nightmare. She is standing in my backyard. I did not expect that those would be the first words my sister would say after calling me at 3:47 a.m. this night. She did not even say hello, and her voice was so frail. It was feeling as if she was screaming through whisper, as if she was uttering the words on her deathbed. "Who is in your backyard?" I asked. She could not reply. I could hear her muffled crying. "Is it Maria?" I asked. I had the feeling it would be her, but my sister remained silent. Maybe it was somebody else. Thinking about who could that be gave me chills. "Have you called the police?" I asked. Her voice immediately started shaking as she was trembling while deeply inhaling and exhaling. "Please don't call the cops," she uttered. I killed her." My heart stopped upon hearing it. I didn't know what to think about it. But then, I remembered my sister's paranoia and delusions. I needed to know somebody else's perspective. At that moment, a part of me was genuinely hoping that she just forgot to take her medication and that she was hallucinating some horrifying incident. I promised that everything would be okay, and then called her husband. No answer. I called a few more times, all unanswered. At that moment, I needed to call the police. I told them where my sister lives and that she has seen somebody suspicious in her backyard. I also explained that she was suffering from severe postpartum depression and that she often forgets to take her pills. I wanted to be sure if this was a genuine threat or if she just hallucinated. The dispatcher told me that one vehicle would be sent to investigate. But I couldn't wait. I had to see if my sister was okay, so I quickly put on some clothes and went to the car. It would take me an hour or so to arrive to my sister's house. As I was driving, I started recollecting all the events that have happened since the birth of her daughter on March 19th. My sister had a natural birth, and her firstborn was a healthy little girl. Her first month and recovery at the hospital went fine. Her husband was a supportive and friendly man. She was relatively wealthy, and her boss was willing to let her take off as long as 6 months to care for her newborn. But after about a month, she began experiencing strange feelings. She was always tired and anxious. Her feelings were quickly transforming into paranoia. She was almost certain that something horrible is going to happen to her baby. She even believed that she would cause it. Her husband saved her from ending her life twice before realizing that she needed serious medical care. At a psychiatrist exam, she was diagnosed with postpartum depression, and her case was extremely severe. She suffered from delusional thoughts, was feeling suicidal, and the husband worried that she might hurt the baby. However, after she was started on therapy, everything seemed to be fine. She spent the maximum time off given by her boss with her baby, and both she and her husband enjoyed bringing her up. I loved the little cutie too, but one problem arose in August. My sister needed to get back to her job on August 12th, as her husband was also working, and working 2 shifts as a doctor. There was no way that he could be taking care of the baby. They needed a babysitter. This is when my sister's delusions and paranoia came back. She didn't trust a single person enough to take care of her baby. I couldn't help, as I also had my job, but I began searching everywhere to find a babysitter that she may approve of. After days of searching, I found a woman named Maria who seemed to do babysitting professionally for a relatively low price. She seemed very nice on her Facebook page. She was currently unemployed and looking for a job. Her previous job involved taking care of a little boy who sadly passed from a brain tumor. My sister did not trust her a bit, but there was no more time for her to search, and Maria only had good reviews. The best advice I could give to my sister was to call her and arrange a test meeting. She agreed, but only because she was running out of time and babysitters. I couldn't be there when Maria arrived to see them for the first time, but my sister's husband told me that she was a sweetheart and a really good woman. My sister, however, was feeling very uneasy about the fact that she'd have to leave her daughter to this woman. Of course, she was paranoid. And it turned out that she indeed was. Maria was a great babysitter. My niece loved her, and she would also clean the house and cook, even though this wasn't in her job description. But my sister believed that Maria was too perfect. If somebody is that nice, they have to keep some dark secret, she would often say. Nobody could convince her otherwise. I told her 100 times that if she really disliked Maria that much, she could find another babysitter. But she was determined not only to discover Maria's dark secret, but also to use it against her so that her evil kind would never be able to babysit again. To convince my sister, last weekend I called Maria. I asked her to go on a coffee or lunch break with me. She was very scared at first, but ultimately, she agreed when I told her who I was. She also told me that my sister was acting odd around her. I couldn't wait to meet her and explain why my sister was like that. Our meeting happened in a very busy fast food restaurant. She was a bit late, but when I saw her, she truly stunned me. I thought that my sister was suspecting that her husband may have cheated on her with Maria. She was gorgeous, tall, with waist-length black hair and big blue eyes. We chatted for a few hours. She was a joyful, witty, and nice person. I explained my sister's condition, and she was absolutely supportive. She even described to me her daily routine when she babysat. There was nothing unusual or unsettling, just a normal day starting with breakfast, playing around, going for a little walk, lunch, then my niece would fall asleep and Maria would tidy up. That was all. When my sister or her husband arrived home, she would just take her pay and leave. Of course that my sister was delusional. This woman was a professional and a very kind soul. The day after, I called my sister to tell her about my conversation with Maria. "Did she show you her Instagram?" was her first question. "No," I replied. "Why would she?" My sister immediately sent me a link to Maria's Instagram. There, oddly, was just one picture. It was Maria in her kitchen cooking some fish. There was absolutely nothing else, not even stories. This was confusing to me, as Maria was a young and beautiful woman. I expected that she would have tons of stuff there, but no, just one photo. I don't know why it unsettled me. "Have you seen the satanic symbols in the background?" my sister sent me in an SMS. I stared at the background for a few minutes, but I couldn't find anything. There were just kitchen tiles, white with some red triangles, but they didn't seem to form any kind of symbol. I told my sister that she was just acting insane and to leave Maria alone or find another babysitter. She screamed at me about being uncaring and blind to the obvious. We haven't talked again until this night. I arrived at my sister's house at 4:36 a.m. The police were already there. They told me that they found my sister in the basement, curled up and crying. She was screaming that she doesn't want to go to jail, and she was uttering something about how she was a murderer, but she had no other choice. She had to protect her baby. The police then talked to me. They told me that they had found no evidence whatsoever of any kind of violent crime happening inside that house. Everything was orderly. No blood, no murder weapon. My sister was holding a kitchen knife when they found her in the basement, but it was completely clean, and it was evident that she didn't wash it. They told me that my sister needs more psychiatric assistance. But who was in her backyard, I asked. Nobody, the policeman replied, and her baby is perfectly fine. I don't know why she is acting this way. At that moment, my sister's husband came back from the hospital. He saw me and immediately apologized. I had a complicated surgery at the time you called me. I really couldn't reply. What happened here? The police told him the story they told me a second ago, and he was also very worried for his wife. She obviously had a psychotic episode similar to those she had a few weeks after labor. But my sister took out her phone and showed the policeman Maria's Instagram. She screamed, "She was in my backyard! This disgusting old hag!" All of us just looked at her confused. "Sis," I said, "I know that you're jealous of Maria, but this is an exaggeration." "Yes," added her husband. "Saying such rude things to a gorgeous blonde like her is a bit too much." I thought that I didn't hear him right. Maria had very dark hair. Nobody could mix up a blonde with her. "What do you mean by blonde, sir?" the policeman asked. "She obviously had dyed purple hair." "What?" "Sir, I beg to disagree," my sister's husband continued. "But she is clearly a pixie-cut blonde." "Pixie-cut? What are you talking about?" my sister screamed. "She is old. Her hair is gray and long. Are you insane?" At that point, I realized that something was going on, and I didn't like it at all. I told the police that we will take care of my sister, and that she is probably hallucinating the whole episode. The policeman was still confused, but he told us to call if something similar happens. I asked for some alone time with my sister and took her into the kitchen where the window facing the backyard was. "What exactly did you see?" I asked her. She told me that she came home early. She was feeling completely broken. She tried to unlock the door of her house, but it was locked. Then she tried to call her husband, but he was unavailable. She figured that Maria was still inside, so she tried to call her, but she didn't pick up either. My sister then tried banging on the door, but nobody heard her. She was overwhelmed by fear at this point and was determined to enter the house, even if it meant she had to break inside through a window. She chose the window of the living room, and what she found odd was that the TV was on, but nobody was watching it. She then decided to peek through every window to see what was going on. The house seemed completely empty and tidy. Every speck of dust was removed. There were no toys on the floor. It all seemed too clean, especially for a house with a crawling baby. But then she looked through the kitchen window. At this point, she broke into tears. Maria was there. She cried. She was eating my baby. I felt my heart sink. There was something about this that deeply unsettled me, even if it was just a hallucination. My sister broke through the kitchen window screaming. She took a knife and chased Maria to the basement. There, she caught her and began violently stabbing her. But she was completely bloodless, and she was smiling. My sister tried killing her with all sorts of things she blindly grabbed in the darkness. She wrecked a metal pole on her head, but Maria's eerie smile just wouldn't go away. As a last resort, my sister took a lighter and tried to set the monster on fire. But she didn't burn. She just disappeared. Then, my sister rushed upstairs to check on her child. The baby wasn't in the kitchen, but she saw through the window an ominous figure staring. Maria was there, smiling and watching her. At that moment, my sister had a mental breakdown. She ran to the basement, hid, and called me. But before calling, she probably cried for hours. That's how the police found her. But your baby is completely fine, I said. She was found in the crib, sleeping peacefully. Are you sure you haven't dreamt all of that happening? My baby is not fine, my sister whispered through cries. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to upset you. But last week she fell onto her knees and screamed. She was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Her husband entered the kitchen upon hearing her screams and crying. I knew that he didn't have enough money for therapy. I was feeling such emptiness in my heart. It's so hard to describe. My little niece has a deadly disease. It feels so hard typing out. It's all her fault. My sister continued crying. Haven't you seen her satanic Instagram? The image where she's cooking fish, I asked. She's not cooking fish, my sister exclaimed. She is sacrificing my baby. I rolled my eyes and took the phone. I needed to open that image and explain to my sister that it is all the work of her paranoid mind. I dropped the phone. I wish I could show the picture. That was not a kitchen. That was my sister's basement. Red decorations where symbols similar to ruins were in blood. And instead of fish, Maria was cooking my niece. I descended to the basement to tell myself that all of this was not real. I turned on the lights, but everything seemed normal. Have I lost my mind as well? I promised my sister that I'll ask everybody that I know to financially help her to get her therapy for her baby, and went home. All of this way too paranormal for me. But as I sat down to write this, I noticed somebody through the window. The figure was human, but only vaguely. There was something odd about it. It was changing constantly. But I noticed another thing about it. It was smiling, and I knew it. Guys, I need help. She is standing in my backyard.